What's up, Swig Squad? T with the Diva here. I'm coming to y'all today with another story time office chronicle. And I'm telling this story because I'm just missing my friend. Remember the friend that I told y'all about that was the Union Steward, the guy. He was just really, really nice, really sweet. And I just been missing him like this week because I know that we will be having a kiki crack up good time. But anyway, this is just one of the times that he came through in the clutch. You know, people was always coming through in the clutch for me, except the people, to people higher up, the people that really, really mattered. But so anyway, at this job, we had a what was called monthly production rate. So we had to meet a quota of, I believe the number was like 95%, 90 to 95%. And the way that you met that quota is there would be pieces of work that would have a rate on it. So, like every regular, I guess just standard piece of work, it would be like a 1.4 something. And you would have to kind of do about you would have to do two of those, like 8 or 9 of those pieces a day to actually stay on track and stay on task so that by the end of the month, you're not lagging behind trying to scram and cut corners to meet the rate of the 95% that we were expected to meet. So the 2 months prior to the current month, I had gotten just below, like if it was 95, I had gotten like a 91.8. And then the month before that, when I may have gotten like a 92.7. It was whatever it was really close to the 95% that I was slated or expected to make every month. So this third month in a row that it was looking as if I wasn't going to hit that number, my supervisor had come to me and advised me that we would have to do a meeting. I believe this was just like a verbal. So you just go into a meeting and the supervisor asks you, what is it that you think she can do to assist you, to help you make your numbers next month? If it's anything that she could do, you guys document what she can do to help you. And if it's anything that I could do better myself that I hadn't done in the previous month, I would document that. And then we would come to a happy medium, and this would just all be documented because, of course, in order for you to get on a second and third step, there has to be a first step. So this is just the start to like the snowball. We were setting up to go into that meeting. At this point, the lady I threatened over text was my supervisor. So like I said, she wasn't as bad as she was rumored to be. She was supposed to be this horrible wolf, this just wolf in sheep clothing. Like, she wasn't that horrible. Her bark was much more worse than her bite. So anyway, my friend comes to me, the Union Steward, and he says, we got to get ready for this meeting. And he told me to tell him every piece of work that I had touched that went toward that number, and give him each and every name or number or whatever, so that he could see what it was that I actually did, what specifically brought me to not make the number that I was expected to make. So I gave him the list, day 1 through day 30. I gave him all of the names of everything that I had done. He went and got every single piece of work that I had gotten and took all of the work out. This is a very, very tedious task because he has to go back through the system to look and see what it was that I did and why did I do it and go through all of that. This was a really, really tedious job that he was doing, especially for it to be just the first step. Usually, Union Stewards will pull out all stops when it comes to like the second or the third step, and they're like, "Oh, let me see if I can find something and cut a corner in here to," usually all of this work and this manpower is not put forth for somebody who is going on a first step, like a verbal, because I wasn't in any on any paper or anything that had anything to do with my production rate at the end of the month prior to this. So he got all my work, and we had certain that were considered complex. And what happened when you had complex, they were scored differently, which means that they weighed a different amount than just regular work. So your regular work, if it was like every piece was like a 1.4, complex work would be like 5 point something. Whereas, so if you had like your regular work, regular pieces, the way that they rate, it would take you like 8 or 9 pieces so that to just stay on track, so that you can know by the end of the month you won't have to try to kill yourself to try to make the number. With a complex case, if you had like complex pieces of work a day, you would only have to work like 4 or 5 of those because it entailed a tedious function. It was something that may be long and drowned out. It may be a full year statement, or somebody asked for something that involved a couple of years in one document. So it'll take a little more time and a little more, just a little more energy to complete it. So it will hold more weight than a regular piece of work. So when he fine-toothed everything that I had done, he came back to me and said, I found a couple of pieces that could go forth for complex. Now, because of the situation that I'm in, I can't just, first of all, nobody could just call something complex because they wanted it to have more weight than the other things. Nobody could do that. But it would take somebody a little less than it would take me. If I wanted to deem something complex, I had to explain everything I did, everywhere I went, who all was involved, where I had to get signatures. Like I had to do way more in order for somebody to back me up on, okay, yeah, I see that she had complex cases in week 2. Me calling something complex is just totally different. So when I had something that would be complex, it would have to be complex. Like it would have to be something. And most of the time I wouldn't even call it because I would have to go through so much just trying to prove and trying to involve and make sure that I remembered everybody that I spoke to. So a lot of times I just wouldn't even try to even get the rates. And I would just call it just a regular piece of work, even if it took me some time, unless it was something that just took me like an hour or so, something like outrageous. I would then go to somebody and claim that complex. But other than that, I wouldn't even do it. I wouldn't even try it. As I told y'all, I couldn't do things that other people would get away with. So before we went in this meeting, he called me in our side meeting and said, hey, I found some pieces of work and it looked like they could be complex. I'm like, okay, but who else gonna see it? He like, look, you got a witness. I'm your witness. I thought it could be, and it involved this and this and this. Like he just broke it down. Like this is why I felt like, now what she gonna say about it, I don't care, because it really is objective. Because it has to be something that isn't like just a regular piece of work. It has to be over and beyond that. But to what degree, anybody can call it. anybody can call it. It wasn't just a consistent line by line thing where you had to meet A, B, C, D, and E. It was just, it depends on what you had to do, where you had to go, and who else you had to talk to. So anyway, we get into the meeting. The supervisor is there. So she's like, what do you need me to do to help you to get better, to help you to make whatever mark you have to make next month? And I'll consult with you every Friday. And every Friday I'll let you know where you are and what you need to get to whatever. So anyway, we starting to have that conversation or whatever. So he comes in like, no. And so he's like, I found these pieces that Tanisha completed, and I'm deeming these complex because of this, and this. And these should hold this much rate because she had to do this on this one. She had to talk to this many people on this one. Here are her notes where she documented this and where she reached out to this and talked to this. So he running it on down. I'm listening. Before we left out of the meeting, the resolve or the end of this meeting was that she agreed with them. She agreed. She looked at the information, the documentation, all the stuff that he had brought forth, and she added those pieces to the 2 prior months that I did not meet the mark. And she added those to that, which put me at meeting the mark both months. And I had a little bit to go with the 3rd month that I didn't make it. So I was able to, so I went from going in this meeting, having a conversation about what she could do to help me reach my quota without any struggle or strife, help me to smoothly transition into consecutively meeting the mark. And she agreed, added those points. I made the cut for the 2 consecutive months and the current month that we were meeting about. And there never had to be any documentation. He would do stuff like that. Like when he represented me, he would always like go above and beyond because he knew how I would be treated, aside of the things that I would do to self-sabotage. But he knew disparate treatment because he was the one who had to defend everybody else. So of course he couldn't tell me, but he knew about what other people would get away with that I wouldn't be able to. And because he would see that and he couldn't share it with me, he would just do extra things like that when it came to me, just to help me out. And it would definitely, most of the time, oftentimes it would help me out a lot because he understood the way that it was going. And he would just, he wouldn't do that for everybody because there was no way that he was going to be that tedious and go through all of that stuff for just anybody else. He wasn't going to do that for anybody, but he would definitely help me out like that. Like that's how our bond got to be so strong, because I really loved him for that, and I appreciated him for that. And I always told him how much I appreciated him. Like, I would give him his flowers and let him know that he definitely was loved by me if nobody else told him. Like, I would tell him all the time I appreciated him and the things that he would do to help me, to look out for me, just to have my back, Yeah, so I was just missing him this week, and I just wanted to I got so many. He kept me laughing, and I got so many stories like that. Just other stories, just the funny stuff that he would do and say and stuff. And so I could share those like at a later date or whatever. But yeah, he was a real fun guy, and I just hope he's resting in peace and smiling down on us. So that is my story for today, Swig Squad. This is Tea with the Diva. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you to those who sent cash apps and super chats. I really, really appreciate it. And I will holler at y'all later. Tea with the Diva out.